Welcome to Dirty News. We explore the conspiracy, the theory, and the truth. It's time to awake.
Welcome to Next Legacy. Your podcast has arrived.
The hottest station is now live for your enjoyment. With host, I Am Branded.
So definitely, man, it's good to be back in here. This is your host, Mr. Incense. The homie V from Vegas is in the house as well. We missed y'all for a couple weeks, man. Had some things going on, but hey, we back, and we here to talk about, this political type field. We always get, for those, politic heads, we always get the conservatives and the liberals, and then all the, the same thing, Republican and Democrat. And then I guess, you got the libertarians, independents, and left wing, right wing. It's all crazy stuff, man. If you start looking at, what these, terms mean for those that are new to politics, it can be a mess, man. And I've been researching and doing stuff, for a while, and looking online today, just getting different opinions and perspectives of what people think are conservatives. And, man, I ran across some good information, and I meant to put a YouTube link out because there was another interesting topic, and, of course, it has to deal with the new renowned Tea Party, you know what I'm saying, and a little bit about the issues of, how they always been a lot of people are starting to, call them racist and stuff like that. And it was just interesting because I found a YouTube link to where it was, I guess, a CNN answer from some black conservatives. It was like a group of black conservatives pretty much got on a podium and took questions from a news anchor, and they pretty much defended the whole Tea Party, and, they're not racist, and they broke down some good points or whatever, but there was a couple things that just made me just think, what? I mean, how could you even say that? Just, for anybody to say, and I'll have to let y'all see it, before I even talk about it or whatever. But, man, what's up, V? What's good with you, man?
Man, just chilling, just sitting here, waiting to, get into a debate with somebody about something tonight, Ready for war.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I hear that. I mean, dude, I'm gonna read a few comments that I was able to gather up, through YouTube and some other on Twitter. People was pretty much just like, well, especially when I put the question about, what's the difference between conservative and liberal, and there was some females like, I want to know the truth. Once you find out, let me know. So, shout out to Charlie Girl on that. I know she'll probably be listening out on this one. But one of the first things that was commented on, of course, in regards to conservative versus liberals was somebody put a definition. Conservative means sucking up to rich, making sure they keep all the money they make with the least amount of incentives to create jobs in USA, i.e. free trade, tax cuts on income, estate, and investments. And just as important, divert the attention of the voters with Jesus and guns and gays, and basically turn this country's masses into uneducated dumbasses, because the rich, after all, only hold 1% of the vote, and at best, perhaps 5% of the vote, if you count upper middle class. And that was by Dale Camp B16. So that was an interesting. That was an interesting point of view. Another one I got is well, basically they were talking about what the problem is. I believe the main problem stems from the ones who want their government handouts to buy their weed, so they can remain stoned and make a career out of being a college student, and those who join unions in order to keep their job and become upper middle class, simply because they did attend some college. Too many expect too much from their government and not enough from themselves. You might have a valid point.
My thing is, when people say that, what do they expect government to do? What do we need government for if everybody can do things on their own? And the fact is, what kills me and blows my mind is whether you, to me, because I'm not a liberal, I don't consider myself liberal, conservative, Republican, or Democrat. I don't consider myself anything. I consider myself a person with opinion depending on the subject. But it kills me when people say they don't want the government to do this and that other. If we didn't have government, dude, I don't give a fuck how bad you think shit is right now. It'd be a hell of a lot worse. A hell of a lot worse. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people that you would either, it would only be the strongest would only be ones being surviving. Everybody else would do what the fuck told to do. It wouldn't be you wouldn't have a choice at all. Because if people just had their own opinions, it's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mexicans should be here, or white people, or black people, or whatever the case may be. What do you think is going to happen if it wasn't somebody in between these two factions? It'd be some shit. So it kills me when people always say what they don't want government to do. But, go ahead and have a government that don't take care of business when, when some groups like this starting to act up and putting laws in front of you saying, hey, you can't do this. Now, it ain't always right, but the intentions in most cases, I believe, were meant to be good, but when corrupt people making corrupt decisions, you get corrupt results. So
there you go.
I think that a lot of people had a lot of good intentions. Hell, the Founding Fathers had good intentions about every man being equal, but they still had slaves. So the intent was good. I don't understand how you could write some shit and go to war with somebody else about telling you what the fuck to do, but you enslaved another man. I don't really understand that, but it came out of the same person's mouth. So even when we say good things, sometimes, who do we intend it for the good to be for? Because sometimes, because there's no way in hell you could write something to say every man is created equal and have slaves, unless you just figured we was talking about us. I think that, we got to really take a look at what people are meaning, who they're talking about. Because I think that that's where there's confusion at, because I understand conservatism and why they would want things to be that way. I understand liberals and why they be, because I think that what people fail to realize is you're going to deal with the other side's problems no matter what the fuck you do. One way or other, you're going to deal with them. And how you deal with them is the big debate. You know what I'm saying? People go, well, everybody should just fend for themselves. It's people that ain't that sharp, dude. They need somebody else to help them along and carry them along. Otherwise, they gonna be a burden on you one way or the other. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? If you got a kid with a debilitating disease and you decide, I ain't gonna go and do what I'm supposed to do to get this child corrected, guess what you're gonna end up doing in the long run? You end up taking care of them in a crippled state later on in life. We don't realize that it doesn't matter what we do to another group of people, there's going to be some repercussions, whether they be good or bad, some way or another. And how you want to deal with them is the question, is what the main debate. Everybody just is in agreement with damn near on every situation that something needs to be done. We just have different opinions on how it should be done. And we go too far with it, I think, too many times.
Right. Hey, I got another something I'm going to read out. We got a good amount of guests in the chat room, and we got some people on the phone. In a minute, I want to get a female's opinion, because, of course, this has to do with females. I got a question for you all, after doing some research for those that don't know, and I remember this, but, it's about, conservative women, you know what I'm saying? I just have an issue, like, I just don't understand how somebody could be, a conservative, that's a woman, you know what I'm saying? And, like, we have, like, Sarah Palin, she's big in, the news, and she's a Tea Partier now, and she holds the Tea Party thing, which I got something that just would really kind of mess up their whole agenda, because the ones that I know, the conservatives I know that that voted for Bush, you know what I'm saying, and they're Tea Partiers, and they supposedly, if they don't like, you know, the straight conservative agenda, or the Democratic agenda, then you know, why do most of their leaders, they vote 90% on bills of conservatives? You know what I'm saying? Like, they pretty much are right in line with the, you know, she was right in line with Bush, you know. So for the last 8 years, you know, before President Obama got in, you know, they pretty much, you know, drug the country down in the toilet. So I'll get back to that here in a minute, but one thing I wanted to read is, you know, speaking of slavery, you brought up, somebody made a comment, the original Constitution says no one word to legalize slavery. It legalizes indentured servitude. The issue was danced around at the time of the signing because of the northern non-plantation states needed the populations of the plantation states to be unified against Britain. Read a little history. It's much more enjoyable than demagoguing.
No, you don't really need to have any history. I don't give a shit what you say, how you write it. The fact is you own other people, which is the slaves. Yeah. You can say it however the fuck you meant to say it, but just like if you tell your kid, I don't want you to go outside, or you getting the ass whooping, but you take him outside to kick his ass, you the same result. You can say what you want to say. It's okay to go outside, but if you go outside and kick your ass, what should he do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I understand, you know, that sound good. I know you made a nice little attempt to sound smart, but the fact is, it was one person coming out of his mouth saying, a nation of people that believe in one thing, saying, hey, everybody should have an equal share or a right to do this, that, and other. And a group of people couldn't do that.
Right.
It doesn't matter how you put that, it still ended up one way, wrong.
Now,
you know what I'm saying? So it was nice display of word, but it still didn't mean shit.
The last part of the comment was women not voting was a crude Republican concept where the head of household votes for his or her household. The USA has made women free nonetheless, or freer nonetheless. And, you know, it wasn't until like 1920 till like women were allowed to vote. Now, before then they were allowed to vote in state and local elections, but they couldn't vote for Congress or president, you know. And it just amazes me, you know, like I said, now we got, and I mean, I understand, you know, things, you know, as far as I know, when I've been reading the certain definitions of conservatives and stuff like that, is like they are definitely, the limit on change, and they're pretty much on traditional type values and policies and stuff like that. They really don't like change. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, over time, eventually, you know, things got to change. You know, things can't stay the same. You know, because I mean, if that was the case, then you know, a lot of blacks still be enslaved, you know what I'm saying? And somebody else made a real nice comment. I thought, where'd it go? We got where we are by the blood of natives and the sweat of Africans. Military to protect us? Question. Goddamn, you conservatives are stupid and in such denial. Well, wow. I mean, to me, dude, it's just like the conservatives I know and the Democrats that I know, it's just like, I think at the end of the day, you know, it's too much trying to be in a class, trying to be designated, okay, I'm this and I'm that. You know what I'm saying? It's like too much club membership or whatever. You know, it's like, I think it's more about the membership than it is actually about the issue. You know? It just trips me out how, you know, you can get, like we've talked about it, you know, many times before, like, you know, you can say, oh man, I'm hardcore conservative, you know what I'm saying? It's just that, and people don't, and I guarantee you, when reality hits, people go off of circumstances. 9 times out of 10, the person, I don't care what they say they believe, if they are put in a certain circumstance, most of their little, I'm a conservative, Democrat, whatever, you're going to go out the window. I mean, take for instance the dude that was, that shot, the senator out there in, what's her name? I'm sorry, I've been out the loop in the news or whatever, but the lady that got shot, and her husband, was, I think up in NASA or whatever.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. It was, Gifford, congressman out of Arizona.
Yeah. Congressman Gifford. Yeah, Gifford. To me that just didn't make no sense. I mean, how you gonna shoot somebody because of their political, affiliation and what they bring to the table, dude? It's just like, how does that solve? Say if you are totally against what she's talking about, how does that solve anything? Shooting her, and she wasn't the only one that got shot. You know what I'm saying? But she happened to survive. But how does shooting people? Wasn't it at a charity event or something like that she was at? If I remember correctly.
I think she was at she was speaking or something like that. I don't remember if it was a charity event, but I know she was speaking at the whatever type of event it was.
And I just don't get how that helps your party or whatever you're affiliated with, whether you was Tea Party or hardcore conservative, whatever. How does that really, in the long run, help your party?
I mean, simply.
To me, if you really, but I'm saying that if you really, you have to annihilate everybody that thinks like her. You know what I'm saying? It just, and then you still probably gonna have people that, that think like
people
her.
Don't usually think of it that wide. They just, I have an opinion about this. I feel strongly enough to do whatever for it. Something to me, like I said, when it comes to politics, man, I mean, it can get heated and it can get exciting that way. But and I don't mind a heated argument. You know what I'm saying about
Well, let me take a call from the 207, man. You gonna be on the line? Okay, well, you just hung up. No, I think I got you on. I think V dropped. All right, 207, you on the line? Conspiracy Theory Thursday, Mr. Incense, V from Veg. What's good with you?
Hey, brother, I don't know. What's your name again?
Incense, what's good?
Okay, well, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'll just call you brother, okay? I know some solutions that people are trying. You would be surprised. Slavery still exists. It's just that now all people are enslaved to the government that we have. And it's no longer about parties. I mean, can you imagine? There's no one Democrat, if you're a Republican, that you just can't stand. If that person is your friend, there's got to be some things you agree on.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't even go past that. They just say, oh, I'm not getting involved. A lot of people are saying that more and more because the two parties are just seeming to vote so party line that it's almost, that can't happen in the world we live in. There's got to be some gray areas. So I don't like it when people say, oh, the other party, did this. And you hear it on TV. They're always using it on C-SPAN, the other side of the aisle. Why is it? I mean, there may be a few Republicans that, that vote Democrat Party sometimes, and you can't just generalize like that. But the whole political system is, there's Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and there's the unenrolled party that nobody talks about. That's just basically saying I don't agree with the whole party system.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Okay. I personally don't have an issue with the party system because party system basically is, to me, All it really is this is a group of people that believe a certain way. And you're always going to have that. I don't believe that you'll ever have a situation in any country that you're not going to have opposing parties. Some people are always going to believe that things should be done this way, and somebody's going to always disagree. My thing is people take it so seriously as if when they go as far as saying, oh, it's going to be the destruction of the world damn near with another party, one thing is for sure, and it's 100% factual. We've lived under a conservative president, conservative Republican president that was a piece of shit, and we've had some that was pretty damn good. Didn't cause destruction of Earth. It wasn't 2012, modern day. You know what I'm saying? Nothing really happened. It was beneficial for those people that believe in that system of, you know what I'm saying, doing things, and it was beneficial to them. The liberals, on that same note, it wasn't going to be as great for them. But guess what? We've had some very good liberal Democratic presidents, and we've had some really shitty liberal Democratic presidents. Guess what? The world did not end on neither side. So I think that if people just use their head just a little tiny bit and say, you know what, I don't agree with that, I think there should be a different way to do it. I hope that person doesn't get in office because I know it's going to be that way. It's not going to be good for me. But guess what? For a fact, it's going to be good for some other people. So at what point do you say, I'm an American? Everybody like to say, oh, he's an American. Well, if it's good for a good number of Americans, how the fuck can it be that bad? Yeah, but we don't even take that into a consideration.
It's funny how, you brought that American thing up because, man, I see that on blogs all the time. And an interesting blog that I was reading was when they were talking about how, Christina Aguilera, she messed up at the Super Bowl on the national anthem. I still thought, being in the entertainment industry, I still thought she did a great job in, despite the fact that she did mess up, because I've heard countless people mess up before. Sometimes you get nervous or whatever, and, regardless if she's a professional singer, she's human, So, and you mess up. And yeah, she probably should have been more prepared, and I think she knew the song. But sometimes you mess up. I've heard people mess it up before. And for people to say, that someone compared her, she should be like in prison. If that was a law, that's un-American for you not to know, the national anthem and then mess it up. They compare that to her being in prison. I'm just like, are you serious? And they were just talking about they were just so American that, they started talking about the troops and stuff like that. You disrespect the troops. And I'm like, man, I was a troop, and, I mean, I could understand I'm human. Somebody messed up, and it's a tribute, to that. But, I mean, I'm embarrassed to put up an American flag because, it's almost embarrassing that the people of this country haven't risen up by now. But I think we're getting in numbers there. Look, can you believe they did a show on 60 Minutes about Jerry Kane and his son? There's a talk show. It was Jack Bowers. I actually told my story on that a couple of last weekend, I believe, on Jack Bowers' show. And Donna Kane, well, her name was Donna something else, but she was the spouse or very close partner somehow of Jerry Kane, who got shot down. Somebody on this call must have seen the show. I didn't see it, but she was on the call. I actually got to speak with her, and I told my story. We had our place raided by 10 officers, law enforcement. Like I said, everybody's a slave right now. The 13th Amendment was really a different thing altogether. During the Civil War, there was stuff that went on, and the 13th Amendment was to keep lawyers out of our government. Then everybody got messed up. Civil rights, think about it. The white man is the only one who doesn't have any rights. You got disabled, you got blacks, you got women, you got elderly, you got everybody in there except for white man is left. When you got an exception that's got that many groups in it, classes in it, that's no law. They're making and breaking laws and unmaking laws all on the backs of taxpayers, these politicians. All they're doing is a bunch of bickering. Yeah, they are.
They need to get back to their communities. I'm going to be starting up a group because I'm going to try to combat this problem in Maine where felons, you're a felon forever, and that's why they can't.
Oh yeah. We've had shows about that, boy. It's like, boy, you can't shake. What did you tell them, V? About, what I'm saying, dudes, you got
you got schooling and with technology and stuff like that, and then guys have been in prison.
So all of our prisons are full of people that should just be reevaluated for everything because the judges are crooked. That's no secret. My website, the name of it, been for the past few years, is dirtydecisions.com.
Dirty Decisions. Well, I'm interested in your story.
Dirty, not as in unclean. A lot of people think I say 30 decisions. It's dirt, dirty.
Right. That's cool because we got an affiliate station called The Dirty News on YouTube.com.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to write that down. DirtyNews.com.
The Dirty News. No, it's The Dirty News. It's at YouTube. We don't have a website for it yet, but we got a YouTube station because we did something on the Oscar Grant situation out in California a couple years ago. He got shot by a police officer. He was sitting down already, and he said he was meant to pull his taser, but he just shot him in the face. And it killed him, and Oakland rioted and stuff like that. But,
California with Richard Fine, attorney Richard Fine. I blogged about that, and I actually got my phone call through on C-SPAN last October. This man was jailed in California. Did you know Richard Fine?
Richard Fine, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, he's a really very good attorney that was a nice man and everything, an old guy, 70 years old, was practicing law in California and some real estate project, okay? The county over there is very crooked in Los Angeles, and the judges were being paid, like, extra money. The county just was giving them benefits that weren't ever approved by the legislature. That's illegal. They can't do that. So but they got away with it because Governor Schwarzenegger passed something which was part of a budget bill called SB X 211. So I got on C-SPAN asking my question. It was in October of last year. They were doing a special about the Supreme Court. So they were taking calls, and I called in to ask because at the time, Attorney Fine had put in filed it from jail. He put in a motion to get some kind of a U.S. Supreme Court hearing and ruling on it. And I asked what the status was, and the guy didn't know it. The correspondent didn't know it. And on my website, if you go back, dirtydecisions.com, if you go on there and you go back to that blog, you'll see the exact clip where I was talking to caller from Maine, and I asked my question, and I thought, this is great. Now the world's going to know that this poor, innocent attorney has been jailed for exposing the judges, and they'll set him free. And you know what? It was almost another year before it actually happened. But this was streamed around the world. If people were listening to C-SPAN, you would think they would have, there was a lot of people working on this in California, and he did finally get out. He was in jail for 18 months. He'd done nothing wrong.
People that one thing that I know that I actually believe in, any decision made, any law made, it's going to be loopholes into it that when people get caught into it, it's going to extremely be fucked up for them. It ain't going to be fair, and it's screwed up. I think it should be stuff in place. Huh?
We have too many laws, period, and then they just make exceptions. It should just be, basic. You're not supposed to kill. You're not supposed to steal and stuff like this. And then if somebody has an issue, they make a complaint, and then it gets investigated, and, the person gets punished if they should.
Yeah, but the unfortunate part, our human instinct of greed always comes into play with that, whether it's politics or stuff like lawmaking or people taking money under the table. Like, okay, well, this person's complaint, he came to me with a complaint, but he came to me with $1,000. Most people, unfortunately, are going to be like, man, I could use a quick $1,000. That's the same thing that's wrong with the music industry. That's why you can't, people that have good music, whether they be independent or major, can't get their music played on, mainstream radio because
are you saying because people have to pay for a lawyer, they have to put $1,000? You're saying something like that?
Oh, easily. People take that, and then they got that cash. So they're like, okay, why would most people that are out for money and could incentive like, hey, I can get paid, to help this person while this other person not going to help.
Well, part of the problem is lawyers are making too much money. Lawyers are just part of the problem. They know you'll never get justice.
Lawyers are part of the problem. And I used to work for an attorney or whatever, so and on base, but this was totally different because this dude wasn't. He started working on base, and he was thankful because he was like, man, this is the first time I ain't had to chase my money. He never had to chase. He always had to chase his money.
The law is too complicated. It's too complicated. Yeah, if they were so sure that they could win, that the law should not be that complicated. It should be pretty much, some basics. There's too much law, and it's all. They make so much good money. Do you think that lawyers really have an interest in seeing the law be easy to understand? No, because then they'd be out of a job. It just doesn't make sense. The whole thing is just they're part of the problem. Yep. People don't realize it because and I would still, knowing what I know, I've researched for the past few years, I'd still probably hire a lawyer if I had the money and if I was in serious kind of trouble, because they might be able to help you a little. And when you don't have all the knowledge, you think there's nothing else you can do.
I mean, it's the same thing with crime. You think crime is really going to be eradicated? I don't care how many, stop the violence rallies people have. You think crime is ever going to be eradicated? Hell no, because so many people are going to lose money from prisons to, people being incarcerated. That's money for people. Those are jobs for people. We talk about this all the time. It's called the balance of life. It's a cycle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think that nobody's ever tried to eradicate crime, though. I mean, I think that's just one of them things that you're just gonna have to deal with. As part of life. There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna want something that somebody else has, or whatever the case may be.
Well, yeah, but look, take Maine. There isn't that much crime up here. But you know what? The problem now is law enforcement is becoming the perpetrators. Because the people are too lazy to do something or we haven't organized it.
You know what? I think about that type of thing a lot. A lot of times I don't think that they're lazy. I think a lot of people have no idea what to do. I do a political show, and I've asked this question before. Well, if you wanted to actually get rid of a congressman, how would you do it? I don't think the average person knows how to do it. I don't think they would know how to get a judge out of it. So I don't think that it's more laziness. It's more
probably not.
We don't know. We have no idea how to do it.
A lot of them, even when they get the knowledge, they're too cowardly. They
don't
think,
do nothing.
Or they think it's futile.
I think that a lot of people it's more futile because I think that if people felt like they had a chance to change something, they would. Because a lot of people will complain about how much they make at their job, but they're not gonna be the one to complain because that motherfucker is the first one to get fired. If you get everybody to be on the same page, then you can get something done. But you can't get nothing done if you're the only person in there complaining.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to actually lose your damn job is what's going to happen. And you might have half the staff agreeing with you, but ain't nobody going to be okay. Well, you know what, Friday, all of us is going into the boss's office. Shit. Yeah, good luck at that. Good luck at that. You know what I'm saying? Because most of us are afraid of actually going against the system.
I got fired because I did just that. Yeah, because I did just that. Everybody was complaining about the rate of pay.
And then you said something, and they got rid of it. And see, that's the messed up part of it. That's the messed up part of it. And even if you wanted to probably fight it, legally, if you had a chance to fight it legally, if there was some grounds that you had to fight on, you might not have the money to fight on.
There is, and I got to write a brief, and I don't know. I've written briefs before, but right now with everything else I've got, it's just very difficult. I might ask for an extension.
Now, I have a quick question for you.
I try not to get in there as a defendant, okay? Because as a defendant, you usually lose when the state brings you in, because the judges are in their pocket.
Oh yeah. But, the DAs and all that.
But I don't want to talk about my unemployment case. It's like, well, maybe I'd have a chance with the MCLU, but they say, someone I talked to said they won't help me with my husband's case probably. My husband's case has a lot to do with the medical marijuana laws and stuff. They thought they were going to bust him here. My husband is disabled, and they came in and got his firearms because after 30 years,
even though he'd been a responsible citizen, not gotten any trouble except for an OUI 20 years ago, and then he quit drinking. He wasn't a violent man, but they came on that grounds that they could get the guns, and then they would look for marijuana, but they didn't find any. And they questioned my husband, and 10 of them. And then when I showed up in court with my husband the other day, they wouldn't let me help him at all. And they made him sign a bond paper saying that he agreed to let them search if they had reason to suspect illegal drugs, which, they just put bond conditions on him without him having a lawyer there. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I would say that any time you got to deal with the law, I would, it's in your best interest to get a lawyer. Whether or not you trust them or not, that's a whole other story. But you got a better chance having somebody that knows how the system works, because you go in there because you don't know how the system works. I can't defend myself, and you will get your ass eaten alive going against the state or the city with no representation.
Plus, I've often thought of this. The local lawyers, if you don't take one and you could have, or well, we could have, if we didn't want to pay our mortgage that month, but we could have taken one and, I wonder if the judges aren't punishing us because they're friends with the lawyers, and they figure, this would have been, if we're a little more harsh on them, maybe they'll take a lawyer next time, or.
No, it goes back to that money. It all goes back to that money.
Yeah.
They're like, because if you got money, you got access to top lawyers. If
you
don't,
I'm hoping, and I might do a petition for my husband. It's been almost a month now that they've taken his guns and my son's guns. And, I think, what if a pit bull in the neighborhood gets loose and I need to protect myself? I can't use a gun very good, but if there's somebody around, they've taken everything. They took it all just because of something that happened 30 years ago, and they all of a sudden realized.
So you can't register. You can't register for a firearm.
He can. I probably could. I don't. We didn't think there was a problem. Okay, that's just they never sent him a notice. His probation officer was.
Well, in the meantime, why don't you go register for a firearm? Even while your case is pending, if you ain't got nothing on your stuff to wear.
I don't have to register for a firearm. I could buy a firearm from anybody on the street.
And then have it in your house. Yeah, that's how Georgia laws are.
They came in. They did. Yeah, they weren't clear about the warrant. They had the affidavit was by one of the game wardens. That's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be someone who you did harm to or thinks that there's harm about to come. That's what the real complaint is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be from the agency itself that's doing the investigation, but it's been like that. They've been getting away with it. So we have to find a way around it. And on my website, I have a link that I just put up. This man does have a solution, but it may not be something. At first, I thought it's kind of discriminatory, but then I said, well, if he can help us, and he's the one he mentioned, we're all slaves right now anyway to the system because there's a parallel government running alongside the one that died in 1860-something or whatever. The southern states walked out of Congress, and after that, we really didn't have the same government, basically, is what he's saying. And anything after 1870, all of these, think about it. We have 27 or 28 amendments. How can a person remember these all? We should just have some basic rights, and government's not supposed to interfere. And let us alone to organize our communities, and we'll do it. Just government involved in everything.
Let me ask you a question that I thought you said. I just want to confirm this. I think, did you say earlier that you said there is no law for the white man?
No law? No, I said there is. What we had, our government, the founding fathers, they were all white men, weren't they?
Right.
Okay, well, he's sort of saying it's got to go back to that. And you know what? Right now, I said, but black people are going to think it's discriminatory. And white and women, it's like suffrage and everything. Women don't have voting rights. You said that earlier. Someone said that they voted with the family, with the father, the male of the family. And the male are supposed to be the protectors. And he's, we're their sisters, brothers and sisters. It's all one. Working against what we have now because it's like
and the woman is supposed to be protected and not supposed to be having to go up against judges and stuff. The man is supposed to have, the white man has status, has standing in this whole thing because this system was taken over, and that's what we got. They're enslaving everybody. The 13th Amendment was really to keep lawyers out. It's in there. It's in the Virginia something. I posted it on my website. I posted information about that a while back, and I said, well, that's pretty interesting that the 13th, the original 13th, was to keep lawyers out of our politics and government because they're crooked. They're from England, esquires.
I just think, man, because, I heard, Tea Party speeches where they was like, yeah, we need to take it back to 100 years ago, whatever. But like I said, when people say stuff like that, I don't think they really think about the circumstances because they're not in a certain circumstance. So they don't think about that until they get into it, and then they be like, oh, well, what I meant was, just like my boy V had, we had one of our partners on, Scott. He's I guess a conservative now or whatever, and he always talk about, they want smaller government. And then V asked him a question. Okay, we always hear somebody, they say they want smaller government. What is small government? How small? What is considered? And he ain't have no answer. He didn't have an answer.
Well,
like he just
I remember, I understand that because I'm working on a book. I have my website. It says Dirty Decisions, and that's the cover of my book, but the book isn't quite done. Okay, and I blog, and I hope they don't kill me before I get my book out, But, around here we've got a lot of law enforcement. The local police, I don't have a problem with them. Hopefully I won't. But it's the border here. They just, and even though there's nothing going on except for a little bit of weed trafficking, and just like everywhere else in the country, they have prescription pill problems because pharmaceutical companies are getting rich anyway. You know how much, how many tons of pills get thrown out? Now, I thought of this the other day. I said, when people buy pills, they're pretty expensive. You usually don't buy pills unless you're going to take them. But if you're getting them free, and that's what's happening, everybody's on pills. And a lot of them are on Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. And this is, a problem. It's expensive for us, and these pharmaceutical companies can continue to get. There's one that jacked their price up. It was something to do with the for a woman to get pregnant or whatever. It's something to do with pregnancy or children. And once the FDA regulated or something, they jacked their price like 13 times or something as much as what they were selling it before. Just they're making a ridiculous amount of money. They've got it.
And the thing about it is they're making that much money and still have plenty of room for the black market. Plenty. Plenty of room for the black market. And people don't even like I said, it's so many different things that's actually going on that people don't. It's all money motivated, and we just need to address them.
In Maine, I think we have maybe a more, I don't know. Right now, we've got medical marijuana issue, so that's really big right now. It took 10 years. It was legalized for medicine like 10 years ago, but it's taken this long to get it actually. And they're still busting people right now that are going to be probably getting their medical marijuana soon. But if they're right now, plus if it's good for the state, even if the state leaves those people alone, the federal government is not agreeing that marijuana is legal in Maine. So if they really want to, they can be stinkers, but they're going to, we don't know who to believe. We don't know which laws.
The thing is, though, they could actually do that, but then you got the legal battles that they don't want to pay for. That's why. Because the state say it's legal, and the feds say it's not. So when the feds do that, now you got a right to fight in court about it because your state say it's okay. And so you have they created their own legal battle, and they don't want to fight it, so that's why they kind of leave it alone a little bit.
But the players, the people that make decisions, they don't care about that because it's not their money, it's the taxpayers' money. It's the individual.
Well, at the same time, it is their money because they're taking the taxpayer money.
They're supposed to be in control of it. And for their political reasons, they want to say that they use it in a proper way. So.
But what happens when they misbehave? Not much, anyways.
Exactly, because we, like I said, once again, we have no idea on how to punish them. How do you punish them other than vote them out next time? And we got short memories.
And you know what? And the thing about it is, I think they disguise these other parties like this Tea Party, where I think it's just a disguise to be able to do the same shit the next person was doing. You know, it's funny because the person that gets in there,
I think it's that people hooked on to the Tea Party that might not have been good. I mean, I heard that Tea Party was started by some women at their kitchen table, over coffee or tea. That's, it's very possible, but it got hijacked, just like our government did. And now people associate those people with the Tea Party.
Well, this is my thing. When did the Tea Party get big? Because as far as I'm concerned, if shit was going under the water during the 8 years of Bush era, if things was going, the big banks was doing what they was doing, the real estate, they was taking money and doing the things that they were doing, where was the Tea Party then?
Well, you know what? It's about...
The Tea Party did not come until Obama got it, right when Obama got in.
Right. Well, it's just, I don't know. I mean, Obama, I don't say he's an angel. I don't know. Nobody knows the conspiracy theories.
I don't think he behaves any different from any other president.
I don't even subscribe to any of these conspiracy theories because I'm not going to waste my time trying to prove something that a whole bunch of other people are in disagreement
already got in their mind. Yeah, right.
I'd rather go for something that I can actually make changes or something, on that I could say, hey, this actually happened. It's here right in front of me. And, I'll work on that.
That was my whole point of bringing up the Tea Party is, to me, dude, I just really think I've got a thing where I've always said, dude, to me, they all cut from the same tree. So to me, it's a facade. They just want us to think that they're on different teams and they think differently or whatever. Well, behind closed doors, they are from the same club. They are rich politicians.
Well, the thing is, once a person gets in politics, they're not one of us anymore. They're not one of the people anymore.
Exactly.
So they don't care.
That's what I said. Exactly.
And they have to do, if they admit to anything, if they know the truth and they really do their oath, they may not, be able to keep their jobs anymore.
Just realistically, if me or you go up to, if we have the distinguished chance to talk to President Obama and be like, well, I don't like how you feel about health care, or I don't like how you're treating the Israel situation or whatever. You know what? He's probably going to look at us and be like, so? But if some gazillionaire goes up to him and says the same damn thing, he's probably going to take that into consideration. All you got to do is contribute to my campaign, and, hey, we can talk about it.
I know. I helped the governor get elected. Not much, but I did a few things for him. And now I can't even get to talk to him when I got a problem as big as what I have right now. My husband's being prosecuted.
But you know what? I don't know you now.
I found another woman that I go on these chat rooms, and I find groups in my state that I can. There's one group that's got 1,000 members, and it's Tea Party affiliated. But, hey, it's just every state is going to have their own group. And they call themselves Tea Party because that's probably the closest thing that they know that is something that, hey, there's a lot of people involved, and they're busting balls, in government.
Yeah. I just don't understand the women. For one, when I got on the women about the conservative dude, I don't understand how a woman could deny another woman their pro-choice, their right to choose.
Yeah.
How could you do that?
Well, my personal opinion on that is I can understand it, because if you just don't believe that should be done, you just don't believe that should be done. So, I mean, it's the same. I don't really think it really has any gender thing to do.
Until she got into that circumstance. That's what I talk about. A lot of stuff is not.
If a person really truly believes that that's not what they're going to do, they're not going to have an abortion. They won't have one.
Well, I don't think
anybody. A person that really believes in that.
But I don't think that you should get to choose. Like I said, a lot of conservatives I know are, supposedly, hardcore Christians, or they don't have to be hardcore Christians. They claim they're Christians or whatever. And I know through Christianity, God gives you free will to choose. So if it's good enough for God, why isn't it good enough for people?
You know what? I think that's one of those questions that it depends who you are and what your situation is. If something were to happen, let's say your wife was raped, and you had a choice right away, get rid of that, could that be, changing your mind if you were very much before against it? Is that what we're talking about? Something like that, right to choose, right?
Right.
Okay, well, couldn't every case is different. That's what's wrong with the law today. They try to make it one size fits all. Judges should be allowed to have some discretion. The problem is right now we have judges that are abusing their discretion and nothing's being done about it. So the problem is more of give them more discretion, but when they misbehave, they got to go in timeout.
Without what's timeout and how do you get them there? And who decides whether or not they...
Well, there's been things proposed, a jury. I mean, people have the right to a jury, to grand jury and all this, but it's very difficult to hold an elected official like a judge or an appointed official. It doesn't matter if they're elected, appointed, they're always crooked when they start working in the system because we have a parallel government running alongside of the one that was abandoned around 1870, I guess. And we have a parallel government that is people in there that doesn't matter. We're not even supposed to have a black president, I think, but this is what I don't want to start trouble with. I'm not racist. I don't consider myself racist, but I'm learning.
Trust me, we know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, like,
even if you were, I'm all right with it because you just give me your opinion. We can be civil about it.
You know what? We want to have our actual owner wants to have. If you know any racists that are not cowards,
go on my website and go to this thing is called Liberty Your Inheritance, and it's on Tuesday night. And I just started listening, and this man just wants to help me with my case. He knows some paperwork that I can put in. I can help my husband put in, and telling the court what my husband's standing is. But it's just difficult. It may not work because, after all, they have the guns and the keys to the jails, and they have the paper and the robes. But if you get enough people together, I think that you could do it, and that's why I'm thinking about starting a petition to have community support to help my husband get his guns back. Because this is a stupid law. I mean, the right to bear arms is unquestionable in our state. It's on our Constitution. They went a little bit further than what the United States Constitution says, and they've got the right to bear arms shall be unquestionable. You cannot question it. But they don't say what the special circumstances are that they can.
Well, you know what? I think some of the issue is like V said before. We kind of flip flop. You know what I'm saying? Like we say we don't want government involved in certain things, but then when certain things arise, we look for government to handle certain things. And it's just like you can't really. It's just like you want your cake and eat it too sometimes, and it's like.
See, I personally believe that you can have a society without government. Government doesn't have to be crooked. It just happens to be because people. I think what it is, man, is I think that the average person has no clue on how fucking government works, me included. I have to do a political show. I couldn't tell you word for exactly how government works. It's too complex for me too. You know what I'm saying? So if people that are involved in it and actually have an interest in it barely understand it, you know damn well that the person that barely has any interest in it has any knowledge of how things go. So they listen and believe in anything that's told to them. So it's easy to manipulate people when you don't know anything.
A few years ago, I told people, I said, we should do citizens' arrests of these people, these, elected officials and stuff working in government that are not doing their jobs properly. Arrest them. The judges especially. I would have, if I could have had some people behind me, there were judges that were doing things that were bad that I would have hey, you don't do that. This is your job. But now I'm learning
that's the issue with now that's the issue.
They're working for their employer, The
you brought up a point that kind of in an aspect when we were struggling, like say the blacks and minorities, whatever, struggling 50s, 60s, and stuff like that and beyond. That's a point. That's a valid point. Them people that fought, they were fighting. It's like they weren't scared. You know what I'm saying? So it's like nowadays, I think we're so comfortable with how things are that most people are scared to do what the people in the 50s and 60s would do. You know what I'm saying? When they protested and stuff like that. Now it's like, and it's a lot more of us, but it's just like nobody really wants to do anything. We talk a lot. That's one thing, if anything, we talk a lot. We talk, but nobody wants to do anything. So, of course, as long as nobody's doing anything, things aren't going to change.
Yeah, and a lot of people spin their wheels, too. I've done it, and I'm still doing it, about, I'm going to go to this agency. They're going to help me because this is so atrocious. They can't possibly refuse. This is something very terrible. And then they don't get help. That's happening more and more.
I think the little person, that's the way we operate here. You know what I'm saying? The little person really ain't got much to say. They don't really have any, you can legally have a lot of rights and shit, but if you don't have the means to execute those rights, it don't really matter. So, you know what I'm saying? You got a right to take somebody to court, but shit, if you're broken, you ain't got no means to take them to court. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get justice?
Together. I've heard that you can go to your county commissioners. I mean, there's different methods out there. What I'm going to do, though, I'm trying to hook up with other people.
How is that not common knowledge? I know that if my house gets caught on fire, I can call the fire department. How do I not know that if I'm wronged by some corporation or by some government official, how to fix it? That's not by coincidence. That's by design. Because they pick an age and they know how to tell you if somebody's breaking into my house, they know exactly who to call. If your house catches on fire, you know exactly who to call. If you get sick, you know exactly what to do. What do you do when you got a problem with a corporation that you've been wronged or a government official or something happened legally? Who do you go to?
Yeah, well, you got to get
the average person knows that. You're going to learn by trial and error, and then you might even get some backwards-ass shit from somebody that might have had a similar experience but totally different, because you got to understand that, okay, that might have happened his way in this situation for whatever reason, but you don't have the same judge. So the same outcome might not happen.
Right.
Because it's still going to be by the judge and, your representations, interpretation of the problem.
Well, this guy that I was talking to and stuff, that he's trying to get something going, is on Tuesday nights, and you can find his show. It's Liberty, Your Inheritance at 30decisions.com. Then go to the right-hand corner of the page, and there's a webcast, my favorite webcast, and he's the first one because he's the most recent, and I think that what he's trying to do is you, as a white man, tell, and I'm sorry, it doesn't work for blacks, and I don't know what he's suggesting if you end up in court and you're a black man, but if you're a white man, you can tell them, this is my standing, and you cannot, I'm superior over you. You're not my government. You're nothing. Go away. Something like that. So I'm going to see if it works. Those are not the words he uses, but he brings up the natural law. Okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to shoot in the dark and say good luck at that, because I don't think that,
I'm going to try it maybe for my husband.
I mean, it's worth a shot. You know what I'm saying? At least if you try, because if you never try, that's the biggest failure right there. You never try.
But I'll tell you that man Ed, I talked to him, and I didn't know at the time he had a show. Just somebody directed me to him. He'd call me or email me. We talked for an hour, and he had no duty to me for that. He just was trying to help me and my husband get things squared away with the law, and it's sort of, some of it made sense, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at his paperwork, and I looked at it, and he's going to help me change it to suit my husband's situation, because it's somewhat generic. So he says, if we can get this to work, then all the judges are going to run from this. They're going to say, oh, forget it, this is that paperwork.
And that's what I was about to say to you. They're going to run from it because politically it's poison. to run on that stance, because if you do something like that and it does win, then, you know what I'm saying, now the judge that actually ruled on it got to explain why that's so. And then if it's supposed to be something else, and now you got to ask your governor, your senator, how they feel about it, that's why they're going to be like, nah, I don't know about that. So even if it is legally right, you probably can get a lawyer to actually go for it and fight for you there and probably actually can win. But getting it there, trying to get through that political red tape to even get it that far, that will be the issue.
Yeah.
I think that's what
it's not going to happen, but they are going to throw up a lot of red tape. So you might have to, if you can, try to get, somebody that you can think you can halfway trust to handle that for you.
Well,
but
I got hopefully next week they're going to run my story, my letter to the editor, where I tell about this unreasonable search. So then I feel once you get your story out a little bit, it should help protect you a bit. I hope to gather. I've got a building that I'm going to be able to use for free. I'm going to start up a group for felons. I'm thinking of calling it Friendly Felons. That way, help out other felons that are in the same situation.
And I think it's a worthy cause, because I think some people will actually do change. Because I actually have a friend that's a felon, and from what I understand, at least here in Nevada, that you can petition after so many years to get your rights to vote and the rights to bear arms reversed. Now, I don't know if that's the way that is, but here in Las Vegas, if you're a felon, you can't vote and you can't do certain things, and you can't have a firearm or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure, because I had a good friend of mine actually had to go through it, that you can petition to get your rights back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the case where you're from or not.
It is. You don't have to get your voting rights back, because you get voting rights when you're in prison in Maine.
Well, maybe it's state to state, because I know here in Nevada.
Certain states you can. Not every state is like that, but there are certain states that are like that.
But see, you know why? In Maine, I just figured it out, because they don't care. Even when you vote, they ignore you once they get in office.
Don't count no way.
That's right. Maine is smart.
Yeah.
They figured the state of Maine, it's hard to beat them. You go look at a decision by the federal government called Alden versus Maine. It was a group of 67 probation officers, and the state wasn't paying them their overtime. They were paying straight time for overtime. That's a federal law. You're supposed to pay overtime. The state wasn't doing it. The probation officers got it to Supreme Court, but they didn't get their money. They didn't get their money back.
Well,
and by the time it got there, the state of Maine started paying it, but the probation officers never got their money back, because the government said, we can't make them give up their sovereign right. That the state said they didn't want to be sued in their own courts. Okay? That they didn't want to. If they didn't consent to being sued, they didn't have to. Well, by the time it got to court, it was a mute, because they had started to do it. And it wasn't mute, but it sort of was, because they had started to pay the officers their time and a half, but they never paid their back pay. And they said, the government said, well, if we agree that they don't have their right to, if the state doesn't have to consent, if the state has to consent to suit in its own court, we would have to give, reciprocate. Like, they would also lose their right. The federal government would lose their right to say that the people couldn't sue them. So a group of people, with 67 probation officers. So the federal government ruled in favor of the state. I think it was, not in favor of. It's just they said we can't decide that. That's a sovereign thing. We're not going to tell the states what to do. So if they did that, why is it that they're trying right now to do the drug? Maybe I should bring this up with the drug marijuana issue, because the federal government is saying that they're going to tell the people of Maine. They're kind of like holding it over our heads. We could bust you for marijuana because it's illegal. But yet...
Right, because federal law actually supersedes state law.
Yeah, but yet the federal government, when 67 probation officers went to them for help, federal government turned its back on them. They could have, I guess the thing to do would have been, the federal government could have filed a suit for the probation officers. Now, why do you think this is? Because they look at us like we're lower-class citizens, when we're the sovereigns, we're the people in charge. It's the people, not the government, you know. It's like, and the governments are fighting against each other. Not really. They're just both fight. They both have control over us, and they both aid and abet each other to defraud us.
I agree. It was supposed to be we the people, for the people, by the people. It's supposed to be.
And the government is.
But I mean, it's pretty blatantly obviously that don't always work that way. But
it does.
Now, let me ask you a question. We had one of our we haven't heard from him in a while, but one of our distinguished guests come in, and he's Joe's a libertarian, right?
Yeah.
So he claims to be a libertarian, and he had this idea that he didn't think the government needed to get involved in, like, say, if somebody was, you know, robbed somebody and he wanted to let, you know, the parties that were involved with the robbery take care of it. So do you really think in this day that we live in now, after, you know, being involved in, you know, having a government like we have now, if we switched it up and said, okay, the government is no longer allowed, you know, to, you know, regulate, you know, crime and that sort of thing. Let everybody handle it.
You have to have somebody regulating crime. Somebody has to be called, or you know, if this old woman can't defend herself. Yeah, but if this old woman can't defend herself, but maybe local control more, you know. And if like, there's a man here who's been convicted of murder. It was 20 years ago. There's a lot of people that think he should have a new trial, and there's a lot of people that think he's innocent. More people think that, yes, he should have a new trial, you know, but I think they should just release him. It's going to cost the state a fortune. They'll probably never get to the bottom of it, and no one's ever going to be happy with the outcome. They should just release the man. The governor could probably do that, but he won't. He wouldn't even help my husband get his guns back. They sent me a paper. I got it today, in fact. It says right on there that the governor has the power to do it. But instead, because the state has some kind of process pardoning board, he'd rather we go through that. Yeah, but it takes 6 months to 1 year. So we have to run an ad 4 weeks in a row. It's, of course, going to cost money. You know what? Media. We're going to have to pay the media. They're in bed with the media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of money is being spent on campaign ads.
Yep, they run it all. They run it all.
But they always have. When we say that, also though, we got at least, like I said, because we seem to be all touching on it a little bit. Is, you know, how much government do you really want? Do you really think that? Because to me, I want as much as necessary. How much that is, I don't know. It could vary. Sometimes we might need more. Sometimes we might need less. But I know that whenever we talk about less government, we're never talking about getting rid of some congressmen, senators, or some lawyers, or some judges. It's never that. So I don't understand how you get less government, but all the government officials get to keep their job.
Start with the police.
I mean,
that's how you end up with judges most of the time.
I mean, dude, who I want to know who regulates hospital bills and stuff like that. You know, like how much the hospital can charge you for a night stay, how much they can charge you for an ultrasound.
Well, if it's independently owned, which most of them are, then nobody controls that. They can charge you whatever the fuck they want.
And the taxpayers put the bill on a lot of the stuff. I mean, either you have insurance through your work, or you're subsidized through the government.
And if your insurance doesn't cover, say, okay, yeah, insurance, you can use insurance, but you still wind up being like damn $200,000 in the hole after insurance covers what it covers.
Taxpayers are paying a lot of it. the hospitals, it's ridiculous. I mean, the supplies and stuff is, and a lot of the reason that they say the reason that they take these extra precautions is because they don't want to be sued. Come on, it's so hard to get out to win a lawsuit when you sue a doctor. In Maine, it's actually impossible or near impossible. I've researched it because that's one of our cases was malpractice, was negligence for sure because there was a misdiagnosis and there shouldn't have been, but we never got to trial because the judges are so crooked. They just, they stop you from getting there. Yeah, we spent 6 years and they stopped us dead in our tracks just by, guess what? We don't think you have a case, so we're going to just give a judgment to the other party without a trial. That's called a summary judgment.
Wow.
And I've researched malpractice, and it's so crooked. The doctors here are actually own the insurance company that provides the malpractice insurance. They don't like to pay out claims, and they don't. And the legislation...
The insurance companies actually are designed to help the people, you know what I'm saying, to pay for certain things. The fact that you got to go through all that you go through for that, I'm like, that's your whole purpose.
I think we should outlaw
it. To help me, and I need you to help me. So if I have insurance, if something happens, it shouldn't be that much shit about it. That's the whole purpose that I had you for.
Yeah.
Well,
so any entity that actually says this is what we provide for you and have a problem providing for you when you need it.
They're supposed to be, if they could just take all of the money that the doctors pay in premiums to these insurance companies and put it in a pool for the patients that get hurt because of their negligence, no matter whose fault, whatever, I mean, it would be better for the patients, for the plaintiffs. There'd be more money available. Instead, it goes to the insurance companies. And then the insurance companies pay it if they have to because someone sues them to the lawyers. The lawyers make a lot of money. Plaintiffs never get anything. And there's a lot of people just spending time being deposed and everything and before you get to trial. And we had a lawyer on my son's case because my son was 14 when he got injured. They thought his arm was broken. They thought his arm was dislocated. So they tried to put it back in place, but it was broken all the time. And they didn't see it in the x-ray because there was no radiologist to read the x-rays. It was the physician's assistant that read the x-rays and consulted the physician over the phone. But could we get to trial? No, because the legislature in 1970s something made it just about impossible by saying, oh, well, we've got these rules, and they're going to be more favorable to the doctors because, there's a public need for it because they wanted to make it so the doctors would stay in the state because the doctors were getting hit by high insurance, malpractice, liability costs, when really the statistics show that plaintiffs winning cases is not what's driving up the insurance. It's just greed. Think about it. Doctors make a lot of money. Do you think the insurance companies aren't going to price their insurance pretty high? The people's health is an issue, and because a lot of it is subsidized through government, and we feel like we have to because you don't want to just let your old people die and your young people go without care. But face it, we do a really poor job of providing for health care, not health insurance, health care for the majority of the people. And for the rest of them, it's darn expensive.
You made a valid point. You distinguish between health care and health insurance. So that's something that people don't understand either.
Right. And insurance is just a phantom. It's just a middleman. It's
scam.
Something that we...
Because, you pay out all that money and nothing ever happens to you for years, then something does happen to you, and it's like pulling a damn foot off just to get something to do something,
Well, the deductibles are so high, and insurance for cars insurance for everything. I think we should just try to find a way to cut around it, and that would be a way, is for instead of doctors to pay insurance companies, have the doctors put it in a pool, and then just disperse it. If somebody goes to court with a valid claim, they were injured or something at a hospital, whatever, then the jury can be a little more flexible, lenient, and they don't have to hear all this. They can. Usually the case is so simple. Look at ours. My son's case was so simple. We should have won that. Well, we never got to trial. That's why we didn't. We never had a jury. Nothing. Just a trial without being there, and a judge that was all for the insurance company. She was in bed with a doctor, so she had a partner that was a doctor, and it was on her website, the bio of her, Gorman, Gorman, but then they took it down. They took that part out. That's okay. I got a copy of it before they did. But she was, seeing a doctor, whatever. Well, yeah, they're all helping each other. You cannot get one doctor to testify for another in this state because they're all insured by the same company. That would mean you'd be testifying against your fellow doctor.
Yeah,
insurance company.
Yeah, they rocking the boat.
And then, if they might be even your own. There aren't many doctors in Maine that don't have that insurance company because that's the insurance company that provides it. There's very few that do, and they do a good job at keeping plaintiffs from winning on their claims because of the legislature, what they did years ago, and I've been trying to get it passed, but it's so difficult. Next year, maybe, because I'm starting up my group, and we're going to, talk about different laws that need to be changed, and I try not to make it an issue about me, about my family or something, or, that's something that's happening, but that's what it ends up being. The catalyst often is something
that's usually what motivates most people to, to get involved in something is, their personal experiences.
Then you find out
there's nothing wrong with that.
You have other people that have the same problem, and you have to find out, what are we going to do about it? You have to try to decide. And this guy that is teaching these, on Tuesday night he has Liberty, Your Inheritance, and he says, I asked him, I said, well, can we talk to our politicians to get help and stuff, And he said, yes, but you have to realize that only the white man has standing. 14th Amendment, after the slavery thing passed, I don't know. I don't trust anything past the 10th or the 11th. Okay? That's the way it is. It's like if we could get back to the law that was originally here, when this country was founded, maybe we could fix everything and, I don't want to see women or blacks have less rights, but if there are white men that we can trust, that's the whole thing. Just like I told the governor, I said, you know what? You do have the power because it's in the Constitution. There's something mentioned about the pardoning board, but basically that comes, I think the main Constitution supersedes these little statutes and laws that pass after. It's like, it says the governor has the right to pardon. And I told him, I said, as long as you have the support of the people behind you, you should feel confident in doing what you're going to do, If, especially when it's right there written in the Constitution that you have the power to do it. But no. And I posted the remark, and I got a letter after the email, and that's my most recent thing on my blog. And I think that's a powerful tool, but it could also bring the heat on. But hopefully, by getting together with other people in my community, because apparently you can't get justice through the justice system. It's very difficult. I know. We've been through a few cases, and, we should have won hands down. That's what I always say. But that's why I started to write the book, is because I wanted to show the evidence that the judge looked at. I want people to look at it and see what they would have decided. And then it would be like, yeah, what she did was absolutely. And then I challenged it, and 2 courts upheld, And then people think
oh, you must have done something wrong. You didn't, so that's why I wanted to write the book, to show people, no, it's not that I'm stupid. It's, there's something wrong here. And then I found out it wasn't just about that case or about those judges being crooked. It's about the whole country, everybody in the country. The whole system. It's the United States of America. And we used to have United States for America in small letters. Now it's in capital letters. It's the government that, it's not the government for the people. It's really not.
Hey, real quick, we got about 30 minutes to the after hour, and I just wanted to get some things in. Join us here next week at blogtalkradio.com/VNTR. This is Truth Conspiracy Theory Thursday. You can give us a call, 347-215-8653. And we also, I don't know if we have Team Down Radio coming up next after this, but definitely join us Monday through Sunday, Smoke a Lot Radio. And then we're going to have some independent artist type things going on Tuesdays. And I think VP DZ still doing this stuff on Wednesdays. And join Brandon on Sundays after dark. I believe it's 9 West Coast time. So just had to get that in real quick. I know we got some other people still on the line listening and stuff like that. We went a little bit off topic, but we covered the main stuff that I wanted to cover, whatever. Sorry we didn't get Brian, what's his name, Scott back on here again, to talk about, his Tea Party affiliation and whatnot, to go at it with V, but, hey, we can always get him in on next time, so, or try to, anyways. But, back to what y'all was saying, man, I actually had a question for a few people. I know we got Baby Girl mic'd up now, too, and I wanted to ask you something, too, because, we're looking to do next week's show on the Casey Anthony issue, for those that don't know. And I really, if you watch any kind of TV or any kind of news, CNN or whatever, you got to know something about the whole Top Mom situation, Casey Anthony thing. So we're going to try to cover some things that's been going on with the trial. And I know little sis Baby Girl is going to help us out on that one.
Yes, sir.
How you been?
I've been good. How are you? I still want my picture of my nephew.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of people asking me about that. I try to get some kind of picture up somehow.
There was a picture on Facebook today. I think it was today or yesterday.
Oh yeah, because I think my wife put that up because one of my homeboys was asking me, like, man, I want my picture. And I said, did you see it off of Facebook? And he was like, nah, boo, I want mine through email.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, because I don't handle the Facebook or whatever. But we'll get some pictures on there, for those that would like.
I got pictures. I can wait for my picture.
That's gravy. But Baby Girl, I know you in school and whatnot. I know you probably getting out of school, right? Or
no, I'm still in it. I'm in summer session fall office.
Oh, you in summer session?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Sometimes you bounce topics off of some of your classmates and whatnot, but do y'all ever get in any kind of have any political conversations when you?
Do we?
I mean, I know when I was in school, of course, and then we was in the military. They used to be the thing they say. Don't talk about politics and religion. Try not to talk, but everybody always talked about it. So.
Mhm. Like the way the politics are right now, that's the number one topic in that class before math, that is. But yeah, someone always got something new to say about it. So.
Now, do you have any? Do you know of any females that kind of have strong conservative views that, you know, may debate with others in class or
man, this one old lady, man, she downs us all. She's like, oh, y'all wrong because I'm right. And we're like, wait, just because you're like in your mid-40s, early 50s don't mean you get to shut us down or whatever. So it really got heated today between her and some other guy. So I was like,
about what?
Something with the tea. I went to sleep on them, but something involving the I think the Republicans took House or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And you know, it's something about the Republicans are going to get it back or something. Apparently, he's a Democrat. Because he's like, y'all ain't doing shit and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm just trying to get, like, just 5 minutes of a nap before this stuff begins. Can we talk about something totally different? I'm just saying. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, y'all talk away. And then she was like,
to me, it's my impression that, you know, if I guess the true conservatives that, you know, were, you know, how they were back then, you know, if they wanted it that way, then, I mean, I don't see them, those women having, the women, especially the woman that you said is a little older, I don't even see them having a voice. I mean, what happens to, you know, what happened to women's rights and women having a voice? You know what I'm saying? I think that's, you know, important, you know, and especially to see the plight of women, you know, since those days, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel that, you know, the women today that would be really ready for this, especially the liberal women, you know what I'm saying? I think they go nuts though if somebody tried to, you know, like, well, let's change it back how it used to be, and, you know, women's rights, you pretty much shit out of luck.
I mean, they probably would, but it's the set of Palins that I'm worried about. It's just like, I mean, women.
To me, honestly, my assessments of Palin or whatever, and I mean, this is, to me, I think, you know, she's like a lot of people. She's just an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? She had opportunity, and she got a lot of fame off of her opportunity that she taken, and she's taking it and running with it. You know, I honestly, you know, everybody you had to be able to realize that whole, you know, presidential campaign or whatever, or her as vice president was a sideshow. That was just, you know, I mean, like I said, I respected McCain, you know what I'm saying? And I might have voted for him had he not had her as a running mate, because the McCain that I knew, you know what I'm saying, he went along with the party because that's what the party wanted. If the decision was totally up to him, I guarantee you he would not have let her run with him. And I lost a little respect for that because, you know, that's a military dude, you know, that's been around for a long time, you know, and a war veteran, you know what I'm saying? And I respected all that, but he let the establishment that he's involved of take over. So that just goes to show that those are all, they're presidents and congressmen, they running for different things. They're all yes men. They answer to somebody, you know, higher than, you know, the president, you know, or as our friend has been saying, that parallel government.
You're right.
Well, I think that, I think that somehow, somewhere, McCain actually got derailed somewhere, but because he did actually, you know, he changed his point of view at some point. I don't know exactly when, but it changed. It's definitely not the same person that he was when he first ran against Bush. I actually, because there's some things that he had that he was for, saying that I didn't have a problem with. I wouldn't have had a problem with a McCain presidency, not in 08, but maybe 04 when he first ran.
That's right. And I agree.
But if he would have got in, he probably would have done something you wouldn't have liked. It's just that
I think that
that's true. I mean, that's all, they all do something they don't like.
It's just like when you lose in court, you say, "Geez, I think I should have tried the other strategy." Same thing.
Yeah, you don't know.
As long as you become a player in the system, it won't change. As long as
how to guarantee everything works for somebody else. If somebody had that blueprint, then everybody be following them. Fact is, nobody's going to have this. Too many people with different situations, circumstances. So there's nothing that you're ever going to do that's going to satisfy everybody fully. You try to satisfy as many people as you can.
Those people are just players in the system, and they're in our buildings, okay? The government has our buildings. Those belong to the people. The taxpayers paid those. It's just that the individuals in them are operating in the parallel government that we're paying for, but we really don't want. It's all how to get out. I mean,
we understand and realize that. I do believe that, it's a little bit too much government control, but the fact is, it is by the people. We got too many laws and regulations actually set up that if people stood up and wanted to do something about it, they could. Thing is, they don't know how to, and they haven't been motivated enough. We do a lot of bitching and complaining, but it ain't that bad yet, obviously, because nobody is really mobilized to do anything. So I think that a lot of us, do that, but there is no real machine that's actually trying to make change. It just sounds good.
I think it's going to come from communities, gathering people to like, if there's something in the community that's not right, you gather the people and you go down to your wherever it is that the harm's coming from. You go down there with 50 people, and you know what? It doesn't matter if they have guns. They're not going to use their guns on you. You're a group of 50 people. You must have a good reason to be there. It's like that's what has to be done, because there are only a few of them in the actual building. But sometimes
that's true, but I do believe we'll use guns. Trust me. It was a political faction that said, you know what, we're going to do some change, and we have rights as Americans to do that, and you march on the White House with AK-47s if you want to. I guarantee a slaughter. I guarantee it. It just hasn't happened. Nobody's been bold enough to actually try that. But, yeah, go ahead and actually go in there and say, we are this group of people, this is the name of us, and use your right to bear arms and walk in that White House. And I guarantee a slaughter.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't go in. If you're going to go in on the right to bear arms, well, I mean, you have to have, I don't believe, if we took in each community, you don't go to the White House, you go to your community. After all, not everybody lives so close by to the White House.
That's true.
And if it's a federal issue, you can go to your district attorney, U.S. federal district attorney in your state. For me, it's a 4-hour drive, but you know what? You get a bunch of people to do it, I'll go down there if it matters.
That's true. That's the problem. We don't have people, people are aware, and a lot of things get tossed around because we have the internet now. We have a lot of blogs and stuff like that, so the conversation just thrown around more. But the actual doing ain't. I think back in the day, people did more. It was when people was upset with government, it was going to be a march somewhere. Now we don't really have a march. We got a bunch of blogs, a couple emails to go out here and there, and that's about as far as it's going.
And you know what? And like you said earlier, V, I think that was done by design. Because look at it. If we got all these blogs, we got YouTube, we got all this stuff. Look, if we got all this stuff. We're lazy.
Stop with the conspiracy
don't check this out.
Because look,
we're lazy though.
If it wouldn't be for the internet, I wouldn't know anything that I know about this.
But that's not because the information wasn't there. It wasn't easily accessible to you. That's the only difference. Right. All the information that is on the internet was down on the book. The only difference is you took a little more. It's easier for you to sit at home and look anywhere you want to instead of taking your ass to the library and find everything that you want to know.
That's the point I'm trying to get to. Look, this is what let me finish what I'm saying. The difference is it's made, and we talked about this before, it's made us lazy. Why go out in the hot sun in March?
It's there. You don't have to if you don't want.
Why go out in the hot sun in March when people would rather email somebody?
Okay. Yes.
Because it's easier, or put it on a blog, on a YouTube. Yeah, you can get to people quicker, but you don't make that impact of going outside and walking and talking like they did back in the day. You know, power in numbers, you get a mass of people. People ain't doing that.
Look, I don't believe it's a conspiracy to get us to do less about our government. I don't think it's a conspiracy. And like I said before, even if it was, what can you do? It doesn't even matter. It's a technology. It's technology, and the people want it, and it's good.
And you know, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's a conspiracy or not.
There is no action.
The issue is, like I said, we're not doing it. We're not doing it to make an impact. To me, it's not going to be it would be more of an impact if people did it like back in the day before we had certain technology.
Right.
You know, if people did that, you made more of an impact. But if you ain't got 100 people standing in the street disrupting stuff, I'm not saying they're being disruptive, but that's causing attention. That's going to cause people to look.
Well,
you know, but if you got 100 people on the internet sending the same email, you're not going to have no disruption.
Well,
you're not getting in nobody's way.
Like, it's going to take, every community is going to be different. Like, in my community, I have the opportunity to get the use of a building. Try to find a place that's going to let you use a building for free and gather with other people. If you have an issue that needs to be dealt with in your community, right now here in Maine, in northern Maine, the whole state of Maine is the medical marijuana issue. And it's, right now, for me, it's the gun issue. And for the whole state, too, it's the gun issue because gun laws are too lenient. There's actually a legislature later, a representative who pointed a gun at a man the other day. And, you know, they want to actually allow guns in the Capitol. They're already allowed in the whole state if you have a concealed weapon permit. If you don't have a concealed weapon permit, you can carry anyway. It's just like you just have to show it. You have to make sure it's not concealed. As long as you have a permit to carry a gun, you can carry it. Now, I personally think there's no reason to because crime's not that high here. You're not going to need to have to protect yourself, and I think it's just a hazard. But for hunting, it's okay. For protection in your home, I think it's okay. But ours has been taken away. So why? Because it's something that happened 30 years ago. The laws are not, they're not equal. They're all screwed up. But that's my issue right now. Now, until people, and it's issues for other people. I tried to tie it in with the felon thing because felons, there are some that have been charged with felonies. It's something, okay, it was stupid, I'm sorry. And they're not dangerous. Like, if you put a gun in their hands, they're going to shoot somebody. But the state keeps them from getting a gun because of this old charge. And then they extract money from them because they need to pay to get a pardon or, run the newspaper ads for 4 weeks and all that whole thing. It's all, it's ridiculous. But I'm going to try to tie it in, bring some people together. The marijuana and the felony thing, that's probably going to be the biggest. And also domestic violence right here in Maine. There's men that are not doing domestic violence, but yet they're being charged for it. And there was a petition, which I helped to circulate, to try to get this certain DA, assistant DA, disbarred in Maine. And there was over 1,000 signatures. Not that much, I guess, but it's enough to show, this group called SAVE, they did a tremendous job writing letters to the governor, to the attorney general, to the Criminal Justice Academy, because their curriculum was teaching that it was always the man who was the aggressor, and a lot of their stuff wasn't true that they were teaching. So, but I don't know what the results are yet. This was recently. Now, I know the governor just pretty much ignored me when I asked him to help out with our pardon, and I'm not afraid to say that because that's exactly what he did, and they even sent me a letter, just like brushed me off when he could have dealt with this issue and saved taxpayers a lot of money. Taxpayers now are going to have to prosecute my husband, but they might also be defending him. Does that make sense?
Right.
Really, it's supposed to be you get a counsel and stuff, but I think maybe before making the taxpayer pay both sides, maybe ask the taxpayer, should we prosecute this case?
Yeah, but of course, it ain't that simple.
Well, that's what's going to ultimately happen is by getting a group of people, let's say 95% of the community supports my husband, maybe only 10% will be willing to go to a rally or to go, write letters to the governor or whatever, whoever. Maybe only a portion of them, but if a big enough portion of them do, then maybe government will listen and, stop this prosecution. Now, I kind of feel like, well, every individual is going to do that then, and it's just, you know what? In this case, this is so atrocious what they did. I mean, it's just not what they did. It's just what the law allowed them to do, what they did, too. I mean, come in here when they knew it was unreasonable, and I even told them during the search, I said, get out of here. I said, you guys aren't, you don't have a good reason to be here. I said, this is just stupid. My husband didn't do anything wrong. You guys just, but they wouldn't leave, so, that's okay. It might all come back on them, but it's just going to look so stupid for Maine that they're prosecuting this case. I mean, even the medical marijuana issue, there's people here that have been busted, but right in Canada they grow it and they smuggle it across the river or whatever, But, it's going to be legal pretty soon as far as, medical.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question.
First of all, it's probably against the Bill of Rights to have it be illegal. So, in the first place, leave us alone.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think the biggest supplier of marijuana is?
Probably, it's government, probably.
I was just asking, but, there's been a couple instances where I've known, because I told you I used to work for this attorney, and he actually was working out on a base back in the 70s, and he saw, well, I know for a fact he said he saw, they used to come on the plane, and I'm talking about whole plane, probably like a C-5, full of, cargo plane, full of marijuana, of course, from probably a South American country. Used to come in, and they came in at night, and of course they had to have, these officer attorneys out there to sign off on certain things. Well, they were basically made to look the other way, and the plane it wasn't there for long. They unloaded, did whatever they did, and then they took off, they signed off, and it was like it never happened. And not only did that happening back then, no telling how long, this was happening. But there's been rumors and supposedly factual information as far as the stuff with opium in Afghanistan or whatever. So to me, it's just like it's pick your poison of drugs. It's they've supposedly been tied to all types of drugs.
Well, Serpico, in New York, Serpico and stuff. That he blew the lid off of the police, of New York. I write in my book there was a case in Maine in 1988 that a lawyer, he ended up becoming a lawyer. This man was involved in the hugest drug bust in a long time. Then the Supreme Court of Maine allowed him to be a clerk. Yeah. And they let him punish, and he ended up being a lawyer, going to law school, and instead of going to jail like some of his friends went, this was on an island that we know of and stuff, and there was a lobsterman that wanted to get an alternative sentence to teach kids
school, like marine science. And no, he couldn't get his alternative sentence. But the guy who ended up becoming a lawyer, he got an alternative sentence of caring for AIDS patients in his home instead of going to jail. And yeah, I read about the case and stuff. And then it's a known fact that the CIA was responsible for the crack epidemic. You know what I'm saying? It's a known fact that they admitted the CIA put drugs into the urban communities. But sure.
But we trust them. We go after every time they mess up and go ahead and admit it, and we just keep trusting them and trusting them and trusting them.
There are some lawyers that are probably pretty nice men or women, and but they'll only take certain cases. So maybe if they'll take your case, they might take it and do you as best as they can, but deep down inside, they probably know you're not going to win on certain issues. Like one lawyer said to us, I told him about this, issue, which I knew he really didn't want to hear because he knew that I don't know, so he says, well, he didn't say we were wrong. He knew we were right. He said, you won't win that argument. When I said, I told him about the judge, this and that, you won't win that argument. He knew we were right. The judge was supposed to do that.
Yeah, because that they say it ain't about.
Thank you for listening to the #1 radio station for the people.
Next Legacy Radio.